The differences between Active Directory domain services and Azure Active Directory. So first of all, if we zoom into into Active Directory domain services, then long acronym ATS. Then what you'll notice is that Active Directory domain services is the Active Directory that we recognize from uh, uh, your on-premise environment. There is a domain controller here. Uh, the Active Directory has a name, for example, contoso.com. If we have a user here, then this user, in order to sign in into this Active Directory, it needs a user principal name, for example, user at contoso.com. Now, we can give this user a device to sign into. Now, if that user wants to sign in into Windows here, then, well, this device should be configured to be Active Directory joined. If a device is Active Directory joined, it will connect to the domain controller to verify whether or not the user has entered the credentials correctly. And if that has been done correctly, then also the user will download, or Windows will download, the access token, which is sort of proof. This is the proof of the successful sign-in into Active Directory. That is the access token. If you want, by the way, you can check the access token out by running a little command on Windows. Let's just say, this is a command prompt. If you run the command mi.exe/all, and you can do that right now on your Windows computer, you will actually see your user object. You can see the group memberships, groups that you are a member of. You can check out some possible extra privileges that you may have. That is what we can do. Now, once we have signed in into this computer, Windows in this case, then, well, we use that computer to connect to other stuff. And the other stuff that we are connecting to typically lives on a server. And we have different types of servers. For example, you may have a file server here, or you may have a print server that you want to connect to, or you may have some other application server that you want to connect to, but well, pretty much always the old-fashioned stuff, right? So if we connect here, we are going to bring the access token. Please respond to my commands. We will bring the access token that we received from the domain controller, and then here at the server level there is an access control list which has to be matched with the access token, and that in the end determines what level of access you have to, for example, the file server or the print server or the application server. This is what Active Directory domain service is like. Zooming into Active Directory itself, there is all kinds of objects that you can create here, like there is user objects, there is group objects, computer objects, organizational units, right? That's organizational units, and there is group policy objects, or GPO. So let me just make sure to say, hey, this is a group policy. These are well-known objects that we can use to manage the objects. Organizational units are used for creating some sort of a folder structure to manage those user groups and computer objects. And group policies are used for, well, managing the user experience on the device. Now, if we would compare this to Azure Active Directory, then, well, the biggest difference, first of all, is that Azure Active Directory is, well, located not on a server, but Azure Active Directory is located on a cloud. And here you are going to experience the most difficult part of this whiteboard drawing. I have to draw a little cloud here. So this is going like a little cloud here. It's not that bad, is it? Now, some time ago, I think it's about a year ago, I was teaching this class in Paris, France, and I got this one student, and he saw me drawing this, and he said, "Oh, it looks like a croissant." Obviously, it doesn't. It looks like a cloud, right? He recovered pretty well by mentioning that a real French croissant feels like eating a cloud. That's how fluffy it is. Yeah, I still, I didn't see the difference. So here we are. This is a cloud-based Active Directory. Here we see user objects, group objects, and device objects. It's similar to a computer object, slightly different though. But Azure Active Directory does not have organizational units. It doesn't have group policy. It's just that if we want to sign in, if we want to sign in here, then a user, okay, wrong, yeah, what is it? Okay, if we have a user here, for example, that exact same user, which is by the way quite difficult to draw the exact same user here, but we can recognize the user by the same UPN, still user at contoso.com, because we have chosen to give this Active Directory the exact same name as the name that we are running on premise here. So if that is the case, then well, we can also allow this user to sign in into a device to make sure and sign in with his Azure Active Directory object. In that case, the device should be Azure Active Directory joined. Here we have two situations. First of all, a device could be Azure Active Directory joined. However, a device could also be Azure Active Directory registered. When we think about a device that is Active Directory joined, then the user will actually sign in into Windows with the Azure Active Directory user object. However, if a user does not sign in into Windows, but if the user just signs in into an application on Windows to using an Azure Active Directory user object, then the device is going to become Azure Active Directory registered. So that's where the difference lies. If you sign into Windows, Azure Active Directory joined, for that user will be creating a Windows profile. Otherwise, the device is, or the user is just signing in into an app, for example, Teams or Outlook or the OneDrive for Business client. In that case, well, the device will become Azure Active Directory registered. And then again, when the user signs in, obviously the user needs to verify its identity by presenting to Azure Active Directory the credentials. In Azure Active Directory, obviously, we want multi-factor authentication enabled. However, if we successfully sign in, then we are getting the access token, and then we are going to connect to stuff. However, the stuff that we are connecting to with Azure Active Directory is not a server, but we are signing in into those cloud apps that we mentioned earlier. So for a little quick recap on that, there's the Microsoft cloud apps. You could be thinking about Office 365 stuff. We could be thinking about Dynamics. Again, nobody cares about Dynamics. And there is the management portals or the management APIs basically that we can use. Also here, there would be third-party applications that you could be signing into, or you could be allowing people to sign in into those line of business apps, which are the self-hosted applications or the self-owned applications. That is what we could connect to. So also here again, the access token will be presented at one point. And then the question obviously is, okay, nice. What are we facing first? Well, here we are facing first a app, which is login.microsoftonline.com, microsoftonline.com, and if configured, we will be facing conditional access, and well, based on this, there will be decided to what level of access we are getting access to those applications. So if you would compare, well, Active Directory and AAD versus ADS, then you could say that Azure Active Directory lives in the cloud. It is, well, it is of course the modern Active Directory. To be more exact, Microsoft actually has labeled Active Directory domain service to be a legacy, a legacy Active Directory. So legacy to Microsoft doesn't mean that Microsoft does not support it anymore or that it's end of life anytime soon. But legacy means that Microsoft is not going to invest money into making it better. So there is still security patching, and if necessary, there is some updating, but only if necessary, not for new features. All the new features we will see here in Azure Active Directory. Now, for many users, it makes sense to, well, need both Active Directories. For example, you could have an application on the device that needs, well, your Active Directory domain servers on one hand, to connect, for example, to an application server or a file server. But on that same machine, we may also have configured Outlook or Teams or OneDrive for Business or a browser that needs the Azure Active Directory for connecting to, for example, Exchange Online or SharePoint or Teams or Yammer or that stuff. So in that case, if that is what is going on, then maybe next for a device, next to being Active Directory, one of the things you can do is you can enable this device also to become Azure Active Directory joined at the same time, and this together is something that is named hybrid AD joint. Hybrid means that the user, when signing in into the computer, it does not only sign in using the local AD, it will automatically also sign in using the Azure AD to make sure that the username and password is the same on both ends. We will be making sure to have some kind of a directory synchronization solution enabled. So we want to set up a directory sync. Directory synchronization can be done in two ways. There is one way is using a tool called Azure AD Connect, which we consider the full solution nowadays. And there is also another solution which is called Azure AD Cloud Sync, which is considered to be the, let's say, the light edition of the solution. But both solutions allow you to synchronize user objects, group objects, and computer objects from your Active Directory domain service into Azure Active Directory. And with that, we can make sure that the usernames and passwords are the same at both ends. User can sign in into a device that is hybrid AD joined. And then it allows access to, well, not only local resources, but now because of this sign-in capability, this device is now also able to, for example, connect to cloud-based resources because of the hybrid AD join situation. So that is one of those capabilities. This is these two Active Directories, well, side by side. This Active Directory has some nice benefits. So, for example, we could go and check out some Azure AD benefits, and well, one of the well, major benefits is that Azure AD out of the box comes with support for multi-factor authentication. That is one of the benefits. Now, multi-factor authentication nowadays comes with in different levels. Um, Also, there is something called self-service password reset, where we can allow users to reset their own password in case of well having it lost. So that is something that you may also wanna check out, self-service password reset. Um, then um, so these are two nice options when it comes to Azure Active Directory. Another nice thing that I like a lot in Azure Active Directory is something called identity protection. Identity protection, however, is what we call a Plan 2 component. Azure Active Directory comes with different levels and different, well, prices. Plan 2 gives us identity protection. And one of the nicer things about that is that it uses machine learning and AI technologies to monitor user behavior. And if a weird sign-in occurs, identity protection can in real time protect our identities. Oh, one of the things that I actually forgot about to mention here when it comes to multi-factor and self-service password reset, you may also be interested in implementing password-less authentication. You can now sign in into Azure resources without the need for a password. There is different ways to do so. Identity protection is also one of the nice benefits. There is a few more. So let's just go through a couple. First of all, I want to open up an app that, to be honest, I'm not really sure if it works. We'll just check it out. Let's hope it works. That is called the Reflector app. If you need to share your if you need to share your phone screen with people, then well, Reflector is a nice app. Let me check if it works. Here we are. So running the very latest version of macOS 14, but apparently it works. So here we are. This is my phone. I can see that I need to charge my card, and well, this is my girlfriend and her daughter phone. So let's say I want to show you some stuff about, let's say, password-less authentication. Here we have a browser signed in as browser signed in or run as in private window. So if I want to sign in into office.com, for example, then we can try to sign in. If I enter my username, just my username, right, and I click next, then I have enabled passwordless sign-in, and that means that it comes up with a certain code, and my authenticator app will then ask me for that code. One of the things that I have added into my authenticator configuration is that it is going to show me the app that I use to sign into the Office Home app and the location that I am at. Just for extra checkings, and then it's face recognition. And here I have now signed in into my Office environment without well, without the need for a password, right? That is what passwordless sign in can do. Another thing that you can see that this sign in was successfully. If I go in and say, hey, what is my IP.com? I will notice that this website, whatismyip.com, is perfectly fine recognizing my current IP address and where my IP address is located. It's different from where I live, but still, this is where I access the internet and the organization responsible for getting me on the internet. But I can also use a Tor browser. Now, a Tor browser is a browser that hides my location on the internet. So this is my this is a browser here. If I run what is my ip.com from this browser, you will most likely see nothing. Just like this, it says, oh, okay, that is a little bit enthusiastic. Let's get away from here. Oh, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Come on. I want to zoom out again. Why am I not zoom out? Accept and close. Go away. Okay. Nice demo, Alex. Let's just make this bigger here. I'm doing, you know what? Let's go back here. So again, what is my ip.com? Here you'll see that this browser is hiding my location, so you cannot detect where I am located, right? So that is the entire purpose of this browser. If I go to office.com now, and if I want to sign in into this application using this browser, using a hidden location on the internet, then what you will see is that I can still try and sign in. It will still want me to, well, show me where I am at, but here it actually thinks that I am in Vienna, which is a completely different location, but I can just, well, I can always try to sign in like this. But now, because of my identity protection, I get a message like this. Your sign-in was blocked because we have detected something weird. Maybe you're using a new location, a device, or an application. And that is what identity protection does. So it's protecting my user's identity. I cannot sign in using that browser because it hides my location, therefore it's not okay. Now, this is just an example of what this is just an example of what we have been doing. So identity protection, multi-factor, passwordless is an option. By the way, if you want to configure your authenticator app behavior, what you want to do in the Entra portal, you want to be in protect and secure under authentication methods here. You can now go in and say, hey, I want to configure the authenticator app, and this comes with a couple of extras. For example, you may want to enable the number matching, you want to enable to show the application name, you want to enable the geographic location in that push notification. You can put that in here. One other way for multi-factor authentication is that we can also use, for example, third-party hardware like FIDO2 security keys. In my case, I have enabled FIDO2 security keys for my organization. I have enabled my users to, well, set it up itself, by itself. Now, for example, if I have a browser here, again, a new in private browser session, then one of the things that I can do is still I want to go to office.com. I can try to sign in. Still, I can enter my my username. Now the default for this user is to use my authenticator app here, right? But if I do not have my phone with me, I can go and choose other ways to sign in. I can then choose, for example, a security key. I have a security key like this here. Well, this is what it is, a little fingerprint reader with that. I can then choose to go and, well, choose that key. I have to put it in my computer like this. And it will then, well, I need to allow this accessory to connect here, and it will then, it wants my PIN code for this, for the security key, or I can also try to have it read my fingerprint. Again, what is my PIN code? Probably this or this, but I'm not sure. Oh, that should, I have to say, oh crap. Uh-oh. what is my PIN code? Ooh, I don't know my PIN code anymore. Uh-oh, locked. Oh, remove and reinsert it. Oh, I can do that. Removing it, security key. Well, this is one of my best demos ever. See if it this, then it wants to enter my PIN code. Oh man, and you know what? I don't know. Oh, yeah, it works. This is and now it works. I remember the PIN code. Good. So PIN code, key, and fingerprint, and this allows me also to sign in, other than using the Authenticator app, for example. So I would say all kinds of ways to sign in. Identity protection itself, if you want to check that one out, here in my Entra portal under Protect and Secure, there is identity protection here. And one of the nicer things about identity protection here is that it shows, for example, if there is users at risk. As you can see at this point, my user object is at risk, the risk level is high, and the reason for that is that my device or that my user object is being used using this, well, non-traceable IP address. So we can actually dive into that here and you can see, okay, the user is at risk, right? It's high level risk. Some risky sign-ins that we may have detected. The one that I just created like a few minutes ago may not be listed here yet because, well, it takes a little while. Let me see. Oh no, this is the one. 12 June 11:37. Yeah, that makes sense. 5 minutes ago. It thinks that I was in Vienna here. This is a medium risk level that happened, right? Conditional access succeeded, it was at risk. So at this point, I can also dive into this user's sign-ins. So you can say, hey, show me the user sign-ins over the last month. You can see that, well, Vienna is something weird if you sign in, let's say, from mostly Amsterdam, in this case, for the last, well, days. So here we can also see this one, Anjang, no, I don't really know, but this sounds like Croatia. And they try to do a single factor authentication on this account. So probably someone has been trying to, well, access my environment using credentials. It failed because I require multi-factor. Hey, this is one good reason that you want to force multi-factor authentication at any given time. Later in this course, I will explain how to make sure that the, let's say, the single factor authentication is not even an option anymore. Here we can see all kinds of sign-ins happening, and you can monitor back where people have been working from. Here we can see Kensington and Chelsea in Great Britain, which happened a few weeks ago. Lots of sign-ins here. So yeah, we have quite a couple of things. Again, Vienna, other locations that I've been working at. So here we are. This is a lot of info. Now, if we let me go back to identity protection like this. So if a user is at risk, we can set up a policy. If a user is at risk, we can block access. I disabled this. But what I did do is if any of my sign-ins are at risk, for example, the one that I just did with the Tor browser, then I am going to disallow access. And that is exactly what happened. Now my user is at risk. Now I do know that these risks are all created by me, right? So I know that it has been me. So I can now go in and say, you know what, I can dismiss this user's risk because I know it's okay. But I could also have say, hey, user is compromised. And in that case, we are going to lock down that user object and we have to sort of, well, change the password first and make sure that everything, the entire security environment is okay again before we can allow the user to use this same identity for the next time. A couple of things you can do. One other thing that I want to mention when it comes to multi-factor authentication. In my case, you can see that I have both a FIDO2 security key here, and I have my phone as a sign-in capability. What if I would lose my phone? Well, in that case, you may want to go and say, for a user, we can take, for example, a demo user that I have in this organization, Bruce Banner here. Let's say Bruce Banner is one of my colleagues and he lost his phone. So, well, no way for Bruce Banner to sign in again. Then for that user, what we can do is we can create in authentication methods, we can create a so-called temporary access pass for a limited period of time, for example. We can create that temporary access pass, which is a code here. Let's just copy that to my clipboard. And then this Bruce Banner person, once he tries to sign in into Office, then he is dismissed from using multi-factor for one time only. So lost his phone, Bruce Banner still wants to sign in, so it's brucebanner@mowap.ms. Now here it says, well, now you need to enter your temporary access pass. Let's paste that in here. So this is it, right? Show the pass, this is the pass, sign in. Now I am signed in without the need for multi-factor. I can use the temporary access pass only once, and then, well, now the user could go in and try to use another phone and add another phone for multi-factor and so on. That is, this is some nice capabilities that Azure Active Directory comes with, and one major benefit that we might want to go in and check out is conditional access. We are going to zoom in a little bit deeper into conditional access than I will do in this specific demo. However, one of the things that you could do in here when we go into conditional access, let me just go in here in protect and secure conditional access. One of the things we can do is you can create policies based on templates. I do already have a couple of policies here. But you can create a policy based on a template, and one of the policies that you want to implement is when it comes to the policies here, you want to require multi-factor authentication for all users. This is one of the templates that you want to run, and you want to block legacy authentication. These two policies give you at least some level of basic security. Multi-factor is required, and we are not allowing any form of non-multi-factor kind of authentication. These two policies are the ones that you want to be creating. There is just one little risk here, or one thing that let's just name this. Let's name this the Azure Active Directory. Azure Active Directory. I want the font type to be better looking. Here we go. Your Active Directory, well, let's say best practices is that you want to be creating a break glass account. A break glass account is an account that is a global admin. That is what you need. The break glass account should be excluded in all conditional access policies. Because, well, the break glass account is here for allowing us in if we have locked ourselves out. So whenever you create any conditional access policy, for example, require multi-factor for all users, you can go in and create that, right? It's just what it does. It says, okay, here we have the settings. You can then create it. But what it also does by default, it will exclude me, the current user. But maybe I want to not exclude myself being a normal admin. I want to exclude the break glass account. So what I always do when I create a policy here, I'm not going to use the template. I'm just going to go and create a new policy. And whenever I select anyone who's going to be included in this policy, I always want to exclude that that break glass account here, because that is something that I want to be access. This needs to be able to access my environment, even if all my conditional access policies are locking me out. Now, still, you want this break glass account to still have multi-factor enabled, and you will enable this by configuring the per user multi-factor authentication. You can enforce multi-factor authentication in Azure Active Directory at the user level. And if you want to do that, you can go into the all users view here. Then you will find a button here in the top which says per user MFA. This brings you to another portal, and here we can take that break glass account like this, and then you can go in and say, hey, I want to first enable here break multi-factor for that user, and then the second step is to enforce this. In my case, I cannot see it. It's not shown like this because it's already configured. But for example, I could go, let's say here, I can go and say, hey, I want to enable multi-factor. Then once it's enabled, I can then go in and select this again. Now I can enforce it. And that is what I've done with that break glass account. So just like that, the break glass account is now protected. Hopefully you can enforce the per user MFA, right? You want to enforce MFA here using a physical factor. For example, a FIDO2 security key, because those you could put in a safe, and then if you have locked yourself out of all of the entire Azure Active Directory environment, you can still use that break glass account to get yourself back into the environment. All right, that is what I wanted to mention relating to Azure Active Directory, let's say versus ADDS.png. This gives us at least some background on Azure AD. I would say that now we are going to take a break.